It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha. Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to tonight's version of the Brouhaha. How's my Brouhaha buddy doing this fine day?
Doing good. If we can get a little of this rain out of the area, we'll be doing good.
Man. I can't stand the rain.
Except weekend, wasn't it?
It was a good one. Looking at your sideline view, lots of stuff going on. Baseball's wide open, and this, of course, kind of ties with our guest tonight. We won't disclose that just yet. Get us up to speed on what's going on with baseball around the state of Mississippi, Dale.
Well, they had a big series in Starkville this weekend, and the Mississippi Bulldogs won their 7th straight series over Ole Miss.
7 straight?
Yeah, they beat them 2-1. Ole Miss won a 1-run game on Friday night, and State came back in dramatic fashion on Saturday in the bottom of the 9th and scored 2 runs in the bottom of the 9th to win by 1. And then Sunday, State hit a 2-run homer in the 7th to beat Ole Miss 5-3.
Oh.
So it was the crowd Saturday, for folks that might have missed it, it was a record-breaking crowd. It was it set an NCAA record for a home game on campus. Yeah. Over 16,400 and something people were there, and that broke the record that both teams set back in 2014.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty good weekend up there in Starkville especially for the Bulldogs, and that gives them 5 wins now, and that stretches their lead over last place Ole Miss to 2 games. So it just seems
what a difference a year makes.
Yeah, I mean it does. Injuries, and they just don't probably have the experience they had last year.
Yeah.
Last year at this time they were about 5-10. They're 3-12 now.
Well, that's almost as good.
Yeah. But
so you're telling me there's a chance?
No, but there's a chance for somebody in the SEC.
Yeah.
It may not be Ole Miss or State this year. It may be somebody else that's just around the thing, and then they just take off. I know Southern Miss, looking at the schedule, and I know Scott Berry wouldn't like me saying this, but the schedule, it gets easier after this weekend for the Eagles in the conference. Now, they go into first place Coastal Carolina. They swept James Madison this past weekend in Hattiesburg, and that was their first sweep in the Sun Belt, where they won all 3 games. So in saying that, they go to Louisiana Tech tonight, I believe it is, tonight or tomorrow night. And then they're going to go to Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina's number 1 in the Sun Belt right now by 1 game over Southern. Southern's 9-5 or 10-5, and I think they're 11-4 maybe. And so they'll battle out this weekend. But then the last 3 series, Southern Miss, all 3 teams have a losing record. And 2 of them are going to be at home. 2 of those series will be in Hattiesburg. So Southern's got a good chance to be in the upper echelon of the Sun Belt.
Well, let's and that's good. We're pulling for the Eagles, but now, Coastal Carolina got a long history of playing good baseball, don't they?
I think so. I think they're one of those programs that people, they just. They were right up there in football, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Year before last.
Yeah, I think they had a pretty good team this year for. And so I know they lost their football coach to Liberty University this past year, but I think the year before they were really, really good.
Yeah.
And this year I think they either won or right up there in the Sun Belt Conference football race.
What's going on with the JUCO baseball in the state of Mississippi? That's a big thing.
It is. We always have good JUCO baseball teams. Pearl River defending national champs, and so. But I guess the top 4 programs this year are Northwest, Jones, Colin, and of course PRC. And I think Meridian's in there. No, excuse me, that's the softball. I'm sorry. It's East Central, Pearl River, Meridian, and Jones. And Meridian and Jones play this weekend in Ellisville. I think it's tomorrow night at 2 o'clock. They play a doubleheader. And then the softball is Northwest Covalent and Pearl River and Jones. I'm sorry.
Well, that's all good.
But,
I mean, with that, all the sports stuff in your mind,
Yeah.
it's amazing that any of it comes out, but it always does.
Well, sometimes I got to search up there.
You got to, what do you got?
It's kinda like
Your random access
Yeah.
memory gets full.
Yeah, it's kind of like getting on the computer and you got to go to Google and Google something.
Yeah.
Okay, let me Google this in my brain, if there is, and see if there's any information up there. But
Well, do you think you can remember who our guest is tonight?
you want me to Google that? Come back after the
Google the
commercial?
Brouhaha and the
And
guest
see?
tonight. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, we've got one of the good guys.
One of the good
I
guys.
promise you, he's a good guy. I've known his family for forever. It seems like Fred Cooley.
Oh boy.
Now, a lot of people around this Waynesboro, Laurel area remember Fred's dad. He's a longtime football coach at Jones Junior College, Sim Cooley. And Fred's got quite a story. Fred was an outstanding baseball and football player coming up through his junior college years. And then when he went to Southern Miss, he just concentrated on baseball. And he was pretty good at it. He was a great hitter, long ball hitter.
Big guy.
Yeah, big guy, and he was also a great relief pitcher. He'd come in and pitch a little bit, and then he kind of got a little elbow problem there, and couldn't pitch anymore. But he could always hit now. He could hit the. I remember watching him one time in a summer league baseball game in Laurel. He was a state tournament game, and Laurel was playing Hattiesburg. And I'm gonna tell you what, if anybody's ever been to Legion Field in Laurel, Fred got a hold of one about the 10th, 11th inning on 1-1 game. And Marshall, I'm not exaggerating this story. There's a little 2-lane highway out there called West Drive, and it kind of runs parallel to the interstate, 59, and there's houses over there. And there was these two people, they looked like older people. They were kind of in the chair, just kind of watching the game from
Kind of
afar.
like us.
Yeah, they were just kind of watching the game in afar, and their door was open. The front door.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, it was summertime.
No, he didn't.
And of course, Hill Denson told us a couple of weeks ago
Yeah.
about that home run down in Hattiesburg. That
Knocked it clean over to
Yeah.
7th Street. huh?
Yeah, 7th Street's a long way from 4th Street.
Did the ball he hit over there, did it go into the house? The door was open?
You really couldn't tell,
Yeah.
but it looked like it did. But now, I guess the outfield fence was probably 380 from us,
Yeah.
and we're sitting in the stands, so it's probably further than that. But it was a good 500-foot shot. Summer league baseball game.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's going to be fun talking to Fred. So let's take a break to hear from our sponsor, and we'll be back with tonight's guest, Fred Cooley, right after this commercial break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome to the show, Fred Cooley. How you doing today, Fred?
I'm good. How are y'all?
I'm doing great. Now we're gonna talk a little baseball today, and I know that you got a little background in baseball and a little background. You even got a little background in football. So we're just gonna talk about that, and we're gonna talk about you growing up in Ellisville and South Jones and about your family a little bit and things like this. Why don't you just start and just tell us about your younger days, when you were growing up?
Well, I mean, most people know my father was Sim Cooley, the longtime head football coach at Jones, and I was the youngest of 6 children. And we grew up, and sports was our background pretty much, even to today. I mean, it was always around sports, dealing with sports, and most people knew him, and that's how they got to know us.
He cut a mighty big path.
He sure did.
Yeah.
He sure did.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dale.
Well, I was just going to ask. Okay, so now you came up about South Jones. Now, y'all won a state championship in high school, didn't you? Were you there when they won it, or was that a year before you, or a year after you?
I graduated in 1984, and that was my senior year when we won the state championship.
Okay. Well, tell us about that ride through high school. What'd you enjoy, maybe about high school, and maybe some of the opponents that you played against that you played against in college, or just something like that?
Well, I enjoyed baseball more than I did football, even though I played both. But our records weren't real good. My high school career in football and baseball, we got a little bit better every year. And in my senior year, we were fortunate to win the state championship, and the only one for a long, long time in Jones County till West Jones won one here a few years back. But had a good, it was fun. Had a good coach in Larry Ishii that we worked extremely hard, and we were fortunate that there was 9 seniors on that team that year, and we had all had a lot of experience, and we were, like I said, we were fortunate. We had to go through some good teams to win it. We had to go through, your Northwest Rankins and your New Hopes, who traditionally had very good baseball programs, and we were very fortunate to win it that year.
Well, that's special. I mean, I don't care if you talk to a pro player today; they always reflect on their high school days. But I guess it's even a greater accomplishment when you can look back, Fred, like you do, and say, "I played on a state championship team," and like you said, that's probably the only one in South Jones history. And probably, except for girls basketball, when Coach James was down there, that y'all really had at that school. So that's got to be a great accomplishment, and I'm sure you guys, when you get together, it's probably a very happy time.
It was. I mean, we had a reunion a few years ago. I think it might have been our 20-year reunion. I cannot remember exactly, but a lot of the guys were able to come back that live away from here, and we had a good time recollecting on that year. And it's just, we know that we were fortunate and how blessed we were. It's always going to be something that we can look back on and be proud of. And just, it was a fun year.
I bet it was. Okay, let's go on from there. You kind of had, I think you signed with Southern, and then you went back to JC. Why don't you kind of tell us about all that, how that went down?
Well, I signed with my dad to play football at Jones, and my first love was always baseball. And even though I'd signed there, and that was my plans, ended up getting more interest over the summer in baseball, and Coach Hill Denson, when he took over the program at USM, he offered me a scholarship to play baseball. And like I said, did not have a lot of success in high school playing football, so I didn't really have a lot of love for it as much as my daddy did. And a couple of my brothers, I think they liked it better, but baseball was always my first thing that I liked, and so I ended up signing with Southern in baseball, which did not make my daddy very happy.
Bless your heart.
And but I went down there in the fall of '84, went through the fall, but the whole time I realized that something I was missing out on was playing for my dad, and so I transferred back to Jones at Christmas. And while I was there, I played 2 years of football and 1 year of baseball. And then, when I finished there, I transferred back to USM to play baseball. But I'm very fortunate, and it just, God looked out for me. When I transferred back to Jones, that is where I met my wife. And had I not come back to Jones, or if I'd have went to Jones to begin with, we probably would have never met because she was 2 years younger than me. So we met there, and like I said, my last semester that I was at Jones in fall of '86 was her freshman year, and so we met. We had a class together, and that's how we met. And then I transferred back to Southern in spring or January of '87, and like I said, that's just always one of the blessings I talk about. Is if I had not transferred back, I would have never met my wife.
Yes. And you had a beautiful wife and a special person for sure. Listen,
Yes.
when you came back to Jones, you had did you play baseball at Jones for 1 year, or did you just go through the spring football?
I just went through spring football the first year, and then the second year, which would have actually been my freshman football season, which would have been the fall of '85. That spring of '86 was my only year that I played baseball at Jones.
Okay. All right. Well, now, okay. So, football team was pretty dang good back in those for about a 10-year period for sure. From like the mid '70s to the mid '80s. I mean, Jones was either winning or playing for the state championship. It seemed like. How did that team do that year that you were at Jones in football?
We were, I think we finished 7-3 my freshman year, and we lost 3 games by a total like 17 points. 3 games that we should have won, but we didn't get to make it to the playoffs then. And my sophomore year, we finished. I cannot remember the exact record. It was around 500.
Okay.
So I didn't get to be a part of anything like that. But you're right. There was a good run there prior to when I got to play.
Oh yeah, most definitely there. And of course, I remember when your brothers played down there, David and Simi. They were really good athletes. I thought Simi was a phenomenal quarterback. He could kind of do it all there. But okay, so you get back to Southern, and listen, until I guess Matt Wallner came along. There'd never been a kind of a home run guy like you down there at Southern back in the. I guess that you graduated from Southern. What was it? Your last year was '89 at Southern in baseball.
Yes.
Okay.
89.
Okay. And at that time, you had a career record for home runs, and it stood for like I guess about 25, 30 years or something like that. So that's a phenomenal thing. And
I hadn't really kept up with it. My wife always did, and she did not want anybody breaking my record. But, I mean, I'd always tell her that that's what they're there for. I mean, give other people something to shoot for. I mean, I think the single season record has been tied 4 or 5 times. Mm-hmm. And but I know the Waldner kid, he became the home run title, accomplished the home run title back, a couple of years ago.
Now, when you were playing, were you playing down there? There was just wood bats.
No. We had aluminum.
Okay, you
we
had
didn't have
aluminum.
any kind of bat contracts. I used the same bat my high school career, my 1 year at Jones, and my 3 years at Southern. I had the same bat the whole time.
How about that? Oh.
But it was right after that is when they started getting bat contracts, and the bats got real hot. They started talking about gorilla ball.
Okay.
Now, I wish that I could have swung some of those.
Well, as far as your baseball, now you did a little relief pitching for Southern, didn't you too? And you were pretty good at it, weren't you?
Well, my first 2 years, I was the DH and the closer, and I had a lot of elbow problems. I'd already had 2 elbow surgeries before I got to Southern, and I was able to pitch, but I had a lot of problems with pain in it. I had bone chips removed twice, and my elbow, I couldn't straighten it out good. But, I closed there for the first 2 years when I could, and there was times where I had to not be able to pitch because my elbow was acting up. But, I mean, I threw hard. My breaking ball was not real good, so I had to try to throw it by people. But I did. I had a little success with that. But my senior year, my elbow finally just just gave out on me. The doctors told me I had a degenerative elbow or whatever, and I needed to quit pitching. So my senior year, I didn't pitch. I just played in the field. Played third base, even though I was a first baseman. I played third base out of necessity.
Well, listen, how hard was it? I think after your junior year, if I remember correctly, after your junior year of college, you were drafted by the Atlanta Braves. How tough was that to I guess in the end you turned that contract down. How tough was that for you at that time?
Well, it was tough. I mean, I was drafted as a pitcher by the Braves, and I don't remember exactly what round. It was around the 10th or 12th or something like that. But I really didn't. I don't know. I guess I was a little naive to think that would even be something that I might want to do, and then I get drafted. I get a phone call from the Braves, and Rod Gilbert was the one who came to meet with me and discuss, trying to get me to sign. And I just, in the end, I felt like I wasn't ready. The money wasn't what I thought I, could get, and so I turned it down and came back to Southern for my senior year. So, I mean, it was not, I wasn't going to be able to pitch a long way. My elbow ended up turning out, so
Yeah.
I was able, obviously, to fall back on being a hitter and a position player, and I guess I'd be one of those few people out there that actually got drafted as a pitcher and as a position player in 2 different years. So I was fortunate that I got the chance after my senior year as a first baseman.
Yes. Okay. So then you go to you get drafted by the Oakland A's, and of course they were at the top of their game then. They had they had big boys like you did in the lineup in McGuire and what was it?
Seiko.
Yeah, Seiko and all those guys. So you probably would have fit right in with the Bass crew, as they called them at the time. But so tell us about your minor league days, like where you went and where you played.
Well, when I was drafted, I ended up signing with the Oakland A's, and I was sent to Medford, Oregon. That was a short season A for basically people who came out of college. The league didn't start up until June. And so I played that summer, and then in the fall, I was picked to go to Instruction League, which was down in Arizona, which was where the Oakland A's had their spring training in Scottsdale, Arizona. And while we were down there was when Oakland was playing San Francisco in the World Series. And that was after Game 2, when they were getting ready to start Game 3, was when the earthquake hit there in San Francisco. And so there was like a 10-day period where there was no game. So the Oakland A's came back down to Arizona to, get some practice in and stuff. And those minor leaguers those of us that went to Instruction League, we ended up playing them in a game there at Phoenix Municipal Stadium, I think is what it's called. And so that was kind of a neat experience. And they were rolling along in those days. I mean, they were, a lot of good players, and I was fortunate, to be around a lot of them back in that time. And but yeah, it was good. And like I said, that was my first year, and then my second year, I was stationed, or they sent me to Madison, Wisconsin for A-ball. And I played the year there, and then the next year, I went to AA with Huntsville, Alabama, Huntsville Stars. And during the year, I ended up getting moved out to Modesto, California, which is where I finished up the 91 season. And then my last year, I ended up playing in 92 with the Minnesota Twins organization. And they had drafted me away from Oakland in what's called the Rule 5 draft that they have in December. And so when they did that, I became, I guess, property of the Minnesota Twins or whatever. And I played that year in AA in Orlando, called the Orlando Sunrays. And I played half a year there, and during the years when I was offered to move back down a level, and I basically because of my age, I told them that I wasn't going to do that anymore. Even though I was leading the team in hitting, they wanted me to send me back down to A-ball because I had a guy moving down from AAA, which is kind of a domino effect. And so, like I said, I was leading the team in hitting, but I get asked to be sent down, but I just told them I didn't want to do that, and I asked for a release, and they gave it to me. But that was the end. I never signed with anybody else, and I came home.
All right, so what did you, during your minor league experiences, did you have any, are the bus rides as tough as they say?
Probably worse. I mean, you play a ball game at night at 7 o'clock, you get through around 10, and by the time you get through, and if you're having to leave to go to another city, or if you're going home, you may be back on the bus about 11:30 or 12. You ride all through the night, and like when I was in Medford, Oregon, I mean, we had a hard time. The buses getting through the mountains up there. I mean, there's days that you may roll into your next place that you're going to play at 12 o'clock noon, and then you had to be on the bus to go to the park at 2:30 and play again that night. I mean, that's, after a 12-hour bus ride and playing the night before, then you have to, like I said, if you're riding on the bus all night and getting there around lunch the next day, you have 2 hours before you have to go to the park and play again that night. So, yes, the bus rides were awful. People don't realize that, and when you try to tell them, they don't want to listen to it because all they can think about is professional baseball, and you're getting paid for it. So they don't feel sorry for you too much.
So all the places that you visited during your playing days, or you actually played for, like in Oregon and a little bit in Arizona and Wisconsin and Huntsville and in Orlando, which one did you like the most? Or had the most fun at?
I really like Madison, Wisconsin. I know it's hard to believe for a Southern boy, but I don't know. I just really liked up there. The people the people that I dealt with were very friendly, and I just had a good time up there. And in Huntsville, Alabama, I liked that a lot. I could care less for California. Over in Florida, in Orlando, we're crazy about that. And Arizona, where we were at in Scottsdale, was a little bit kind of it's a suburb of Phoenix. It's one of the suburbs, and I guess it was probably one of the nicer of the suburbs there around Phoenix. But like I said, Madison, Wisconsin, and Huntsville, Alabama were probably my 2 favorites.
Yeah, I took my 2 boys one time when they were, I think it was the summer of 91. We went to Birmingham to see the Barons play. And they were playing Huntsville, but you weren't there at that time. I guess you had already been traded to the Twins, maybe. That was the summer that I was actually sent Huntsville back to Modesto, California. So that would have been I was there about 2 months, and then I got sent back to Modesto in California. Okay. Well, anyway, we were there, and of course the kids were just asking the players for autographs, and they were getting most of the Huntsville Stars autographs. And this guy, he comes up to me because I'm standing behind them because they were at the time only about 9 and 7, my boys were, and he says, "Do you know Fred Cooley?" And I said, "We sure do. We just told him we were from Mississippi." And he said, "Fred Cooley." And I said, "Well, yeah, I know of him." And I said, his dad's one of my good friends, and I know his brothers really well. And he said, "Well, he was a teammate of mine." And the guy's name is one for history trivia for Atlanta Braves fans, Todd Van Poppel. And
Todd Van Poppel.
Yeah, and he was the one that the Braves finally decided to draft Chipper Jones over him because they weren't sure he was going to sign with them, And so, that's how I knew the name, But I just thought that was funny, It's just such a small world, And
that's right.
So, but anyway, okay. So you finish your career, you come back, and I guess you settle around Jones County, Ellisville area, maybe. So, what do you do
I
then?
did. After I came, like I said, June of '92 was when I ended up getting released from Minnesota, and I came home. I'd already married my wife back in 1990, so we came back. We had an apartment in Laurel. Of course, she was already teaching there in Laurel at the time, and I came back in for the fall of '92 and the spring of '93. I helped Bobby Glaze coach baseball at Jones Junior College. And right after that is when I went back to school to get my master's degree in the summer of '93 and the fall of '93 from William Carey. And a spot opened up out of Northeast Jones at January of '94. And I ended up starting teaching and coaching out at Northeast Jones in the January of '94.
And so, what sports did you coach? Did you kind of have your hand in all the sports over your career?
I was primarily football at Northeast. I assisted baseball for 5 years while I was there. I was at Northeast for 10 and a half years. But like I said, the whole time I was at Northeast, I did football, and I did a little baseball. But the kind of ironic thing is, my head football coach when I went to Northeast was Larry Hughes, the one who we won a state championship in baseball at South. And we were fortunate to win a state championship in football in 1996 at Northeast Jones as coaches. So that was another kind of one of the interesting things, that he won a state championship in baseball as a coach, and then he went to a different school in Jones County and won a football championship. And I got to say that I was a player on one of them and a coach on one of them. And that was kind of a little neat fact about that. And but I enjoyed my time at Northeast. A lot of good people out there. Could have probably stayed there my whole career if I chose to, but things didn't work out. And but I really enjoyed my time out there.
So after you left Northeast, where'd you end up?
I went back to my home school, South Jones, and I coached football. And eventually, my last 4 years of coaching, I became the girls' fast pitch softball coach, which I enjoyed more than anything that I coached. I enjoyed coaching the fast pitch softball. The girls were great. And the difference between girls and boys, those girls will run through a fence for you if they like you. And they like to please. I hate to say it, more than boys do, but the ones I dealt with did.
I agree with you 100% on that, because girls just have a different emotion on that softball field, that basketball court, that tennis court, ever what it is, soccer. I mean, they are competitive, and so
the only thing I can say about the difference between girls and boys, girls hold a grudge against you a little bit longer than boys do.
That's the truth.
If you upset them about anything, they tend to stay mad for longer than boys do.
We can make a whole show of
it.
Yeah.
But,
sorry, ladies.
No, but I know they hold grudges for years. But anyway, well, listen, Fred, we really I
want to ask you a question before we sign off.
Okay, we'll let you ask one question.
See, I get one question, Fred. That's all I get.
Okay.
So, I want you to go ahead. You made a comment about you moved off. This caught my attention. You went off and to Southern, then you came back to play ball for your dad. Is that right?
Right.
How did that had to be kind of, it's either great, really special or really difficult. How did that work out for you?
Well, everybody knows, and Daddy, he'd basically tell you, I've got to be tough on you because I don't want anybody to think I showed you any favoritism. Well, he definitely, even the teammates would say, "Good God, he's hard on you." I said, "Well, my brothers both played quarterback, and my dad was a quarterback and running backs coach, so they had to deal with him a lot more than I did because I played offensive line. So they had it a lot worse than I did. But he expected more of us, and I can understand, nowadays why it was like that because, they didn't want to show any favoritism. They didn't want anybody to ever think that.
Yeah.
We never thought that, and, our teammates, they always knew that he definitely was going to be harder on us than he did anybody else.
It had to be a special time, though. I know you probably look back on that with some fond memories.
Oh, I'll never regret coming back to Jones. Like I said, that was where I met my wife, and got to play for him. And even though my mother was very happy that I went to Southern to play baseball, she did not want me playing football anymore. So she wasn't happy when I came back to Jones, just because she struggled with how physical it was. Yeah. I mean, even when none of her sons were playing, she would be every game she'd be walking under stands because she couldn't take all the hard hitting and everything.
Yeah. Well, I had a bunch of friends. I never played over at Jones. I had a bunch of friends that made their way through and played under your father over there, and they got a lot of fond memories of it too, and some difficult ones as well. He's a legend, and we certainly appreciate you and your family's legacy here in this part of the state and around the country. We're grateful for you and for your taking time to be with us today, Fred. We thank you for this.
Well, you're very welcome.
I'm going to ask you to hang on for a minute. I'm going to sign off for a commercial. Just hang on with us, Fred. We'll be right back with you. But for now, let's take a break to hear from some of our sponsors, and we'll be back with the final segment of the Brouhaha right after this break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back, everybody. Fred's good, isn't he?
He is a good one,
man.
Very humble man, isn't he?
You know what I was doing this weekend?
No.
I was watching some TV.
Yes.
And guess who I saw on TV?
J. Mar Smith.
J. Mar Smith.
From Meridian, Mississippi.
Yes, sir.
One of our good friends.
Yes, sir. We're big J. Mar fans around here.
Yes, sir.
And,
we are.
I go back, clear back to the first time I saw him when he walked out on the field as a freshman at Meridian at halftime and showed up and ran us out of the stadium up there. Man, he was a man among boys as a ninth grader. But anyway, I was so thrilled to watch him play. He was lighting them up pretty good there in the first half, and then he got hurt, and he had to turn the wheels over to Alex Magoo. I think I'm pronouncing that right. But anyway, the Stallions got off to a win. But it was good seeing Jay Martin. He's going to be okay. It was his injury to his non-throwing hand, so he's going to be okay. So we're excited to see how Jay Martin and Stallions do the rest of the way. We got somebody's going to let the cat out of the bag.
They sure have.
We got a cat up in here. But anyway, anything you got to say as we prepare to close out? We'll get the cat back in the bag.
Is it my time to say anything?
No, not yet.
No, not yet.
Not yet. I'll let you know when the time is.
Yeah. Well, it's just it's an interesting season from April 15th to April 30th. Do you know what that is? Well, most people call it tax season, but what do the college football coaches call it?
Well, I don't know, but I know the portal's open back up again.
The portal, John, is open.
That's right.
But you know what?
Yeah, go ahead.
Great teams only reload, right? And why do they reload? Because they got great competition. And when you bring in somebody to push somebody, it's just like having one quarterback on your campus or a track star that needs to run in the nines for, say, the 100 meters. He needs to run in the nines, but he has nobody on his team that can even do an 11. Yeah. So he has nobody to push him.
Yeah. And
that's one thing about the portal for the great teams. And that's what, they said, well, it's going to make college football even. Yeah, it'll probably make basketball a little bit more even, because basketball is different from football. But I'm just going to tell you, the rich are going to get richer through this transfer portal. You know, the Alabamas, I mean, LSU's, I mean, they're going to, you know.
Well, they take their picks to start with.
Sure.
And then they get their picks again.
Yes.
You know, so,
Yeah.
but anyway. But I do believe, we're not going to get too bogged down into that, but it's interesting. And you know, it's off again. Just when you think it's safe to go back in the water, we're recruiting again. Mm-hmm. Wow. Mm-hmm. But anywho. Well, Dale, we've had a good time with our show tonight. We sure appreciate you, and we appreciate our guests tonight, Fred and Cooley. But, you know, it's come to that time, Dale, and like I promised you, you know, I'm going to always let you know that it's, I think it's time to say goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, Dale.
And we'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Get us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.